For the last 3 decades, Knowledge Center at Bursa has offered technology, resources, services, space, and a sense of community. Since 1985, 14,000 titles have been collected, with care and attention to high financial literacy standards. In collaboration with a global community of institutions, we ensure access to the world's diverse intellectual and cultural economic heritage, as well as fast online services for connectivity to the financial world. Serving the Bursa Malaysia community and beyond, Knowledge Center at Bursa empowers you in your trading and investment analysis research.
Financial information at my fingertips.
Visit Knowledge Center at Bursa Malaysia today for the collections, for the services, for the sense of community.
You have suffered financial loss while investing, and you think your bank, broker, fund management company, unit trust management company, PRS provider or distributor, or their agent or representative is responsible. You need help sorting out the problem or want to seek redress. Where do you go? Sidrek is here to help you start the conversation and reach some resolution. First, lodge a formal complaint with a company that sold or offered you the unit trusts, shares, derivatives, or other capital market product or service. But you're not happy with their response. You have 180 days from their final written reply to come to Sidrek. Or if there's no written response, and it's been 90 days since you wrote to them, you don't need to wait longer. You may come to Sidrek even though you haven't received a final response yet. Sidrek first checks the eligibility of your claim. For example, is it within Sidrek's claim limit? Is it against a member of Sidrek? And so forth. If your case is eligible, we begin the dispute resolution process. All information in this process is confidential. We get both you and the member you're complaining against to sit with us and have a conversation. Documents and information will be required from both parties. No lawyers are allowed in the mediation process, as we keep the discussions informal and private. Our mediators are impartial and will hear both sides out and help parties communicate constructively towards resolving the dispute. 2 outcomes are possible at this stage. Either both you and the member agree to a settlement, or you don't. If the both of you agree to a settlement, an agreement is signed and the mediation process ends successfully. But if both you and the member fail to reach a satisfactory resolution, mediation has thus failed. But don't worry, Sidrek then proceeds to the next stage, adjudication. During adjudication, parties are given the chance to provide any further information to help their case and ask each other further questions. Our adjudicator will then study and consider all facts and information provided, including the conduct of the parties, laws, and best industry practices, as well as what's fair and reasonable. Sidrek's adjudicator will then make a final decision on the dispute and the monetary claim. If the decision is in your favor, it could be a full award or a partial award for your claim. But if the decision isn't in your favor, then no award will be made. You, the investor, will still have a choice. If you reject the decision, Sidrek will simply close the case and you may seek other legal avenues for redress. If you choose to accept the decision, however, the member has to comply with it. Once the parties have confirmed compliance to the decision, Sidrek will close the case. So let Sidrek help start the conversation towards resolution. For more information, visit sidrek.com.my or call 03 2282 2280.
Bursa Malaysia has been part of the Malaysian economic growth for over 4 decades. We have been working relentlessly to create a transparent, efficient, and vibrant stock exchange.
While we've been working at building a vibrant marketplace, inclusivity and contributing towards economic growth, we have also channeled efforts and resources towards supporting the community at large. Shares to Share is one such effort, which has been developed to create positive impact towards society and the environment. To put it simply, Shares to Share is a transparent and easily accessible facility that enables investors to donate their listed securities or proceeds from the sale of their listed securities towards charity through Yayasan Bursa Malaysia. You can donate odd lots or even board lots. The funds from the sale of these shares will be channeled to approved charitable organisations and their respective initiatives or projects.
Bursa Malaysia has waived its portion of the transfer fee, clearing and trading fees for all transactions that are conducted under Shares to Share. The participating brokers of Shares to Share have also agreed to waive their portion of the transfer fee and brokerage. The charitable organizations that have been selected have undergone the necessary due diligence process and have been duly approved by an independent selection committee.
At least 500,000 Malaysians live with some kind of disability. They are most of the time being left behind. We need to empower them, otherwise they will continue to be the liability. A lot of human resources wasted from this group of people.
We provide a lot of support for persons with disability who are young adults and adults. We have a social enterprise called Project I Am Possible, where we manage to hire all persons with learning disability to work here. We have a cafe, bakery, weaving, and we have an art gallery.
Purity of thought, word and deed, that is action, is very important to be really successful. We must know some skills to be able to help us then paperwork. The grant from Shares to Share will be used for, one is sewing, handicraft, classical dance and so on.
Our patients have to be fed, they have to be looked after. We look out for any sort of disease they might develop and also those unforeseen circumstances. Thanks to Bursa's initiative, we can be a little bit easy on our patients and their family members.
Donations will all be channeled to organizations that are involved in the sustainable development of Malaysia. The Shares to Share scheme offers you the chance to do so in a simple and effective way.
Bursa's Shares to Share allows us to do good by donating our shares to charities. To join us in making a difference to the society by donating your listed shares.
Shares to Share is open to all donors, individual as well as corporates or other types of entities. You can transfer your listed securities via Bursa Anywhere app at a click. For more information, please visit our Bursa Malaysia website.
Hello everybody, welcome to this webinar brought to you by Bursa Malaysia and managed by our company LifeChamp. Our webinar title today is Malaysia's National Energy Transition Roadmap Initiative. So my name is Shen Chu, I'm the moderator for this webinar. Now our government recently launched this NETR, National Energy Transition Roadmap Initiative, as an initiative to transition our fossil fuel economy to a green economy. So I laid out a roadmap for us to achieve that by 2050. And today we have invited an analyst, Sean Pang from Spiral Thinker Group, to share with us what exactly is NETR and what would be the beneficiaries under this NETR. As usual, disclaimer, whatever we share in this webinar is only for educational purpose. in no way that we give any recommendation for you to buy or sell any listed securities that we mentioned here. So if you decide to make any investment decisions, you're 100% responsible for all your investment risk. Now, allow me to briefly introduce our speaker today. He graduated from Tunku Abdul Rahman University College with a bachelor degree of finance and investment. He has more than 7 years of investing experience in the market. He is formerly investment bank equity research analyst, and is often invited by various investment banks to deliver investment market talks. So he's none other than Mr. Sean Pang, who is the executive director of Spiral Thinker Group Sdn Bhd. Sean, how are you today? You're on mute.
Hey, sorry. Thank you. Thanks, Shane, for the good introduction. Good evening, everyone. Wait,
all right, cool.
I really want to hear what I'm talking.
Yes, we can hear you. All right, so I'll hand over the control to you.
Sure. Wait, to allow me to share my slide.
Yes, you may go ahead.
So yes, can you see my slide?
Cool. Yes.
Okay.
We can see your slide. It's very timely for us to talk about NETR. Over to you.
Right. Yeah. Thanks. Good evening to everyone. Thanks for having me today. I think it's the right time for me to talk about this NETR. And by the way, just to give updates to all the audience, actually this session should be done by David, the Spiral Thinker Managing Director, Mr. David Paul, but he is he's under a feather. So I think we wish him all the best and good luck for his health to recover. And that's the reason why I'm replacing him to talk about the Malaysia National Energy Transition Roadmap initiative today. So I think it's quite timely to talk about this topic, is because our minister been trying to laying out a lot of the new initiative in order to push the overall economic growth going forward. And I think the first big framework or the big initiative that carried out by our governments is actually quite timely. Reason being is because I think we are talking about clean energy, and Malaysia being as in quite a strategic location, which our neighbor is Singapore, which is a very small country. They have scarcity of land and they need to import a lot of clean energy. And I think definitely our YB Rafizi and also YB Nik Nasmi been doing a great job, because I think this is one of the fastest initiative or even a framework that been carrying out by the cabinet and also by their subordinate. So I think without further ado, let us go into the details of my sharing today. But before I go into details and before I go into my sharing, just to remind you guys that all the companies that I mentioned today, there's no buy and sell call. It's purely on educational and also purely on my personal analysis basis, on sharing on which companies might benefit from the Malaysia National Energy Transition Roadmap, right? So I think if we look at our Earth today, our Earth actually got sick, because of the greenhouse and because of the climate change. So I think this year definitely everyone can feel the heat wave, especially in Malaysia. We can feel the heat wave quite obvious because of the climate change, and because of all the all the weird stuff happen all around the world. Some of the places get flood easily, some of the places get very bad heat wave, like Malaysia, Australia, US, and then some of the forests got caught fire because of the heat wave. So all these actually pointed into one direction, which is the greenhouse effect. Because of the greenhouse gas emission, which is carried out by human activities and all the industrial activities, which actually indirectly causing global warming and climate changes. And all these things, actually harm to us, because we as a human are so tiny compared to the earth. And I think, because of all this heat wave, flood, are really jeopardizing a lot of the human living, and also disrupting the livelihood of some of the very poor villages and some of the poor groups of people, because they can't really suffer this kind of activities, you see. So, and not only that, it also endanger the animals, you see. And just recently, we can read the news that in Kelantan, because of the deforestation issue, there's a tiger coming out from the forest, and bitten some of the workers, the plantation workers over there. So I think all these things actually hit a big alarm, and I think that's the reason why we can see energy transition being such a very important topic all around the world. And if you look at Bursa Malaysia as a whole, I think the very outperform sectors for this year, and the champion sector goes to energy and utility sectors for sure, because looking at how YTL Power, being a more than 10 billion market cap kind of company, growing at, I mean, the share price go up by more than 100%. I think this is something, that hit the alarm that the energy transition and all these things, the utilities will play a big role going forward, right? And all these global greenhouse gas emission, is mostly caused by the none and others because of the carbon dioxide for sure, and also because of methane, that carrying out by the activities of like from the agriculture activities, because of all the pesticide or all the herbicide that we use in our agriculture activity. All these actually cause quite a harmful effects to our earth. So all these things actually sum out to the emission that we need to tackle down. And all around the earth, and around the globes, I mean, all the countries been talking about net zero emission. Each country been laying out their strategies to tackle down the net zero emission, and also they want to combat this global warming and also this climate change, in order to reduce the greenhouse effect and the greenhouse gases, especially on the carbon dioxide. Hence, we can see, you look at the chart at the right-hand side there, this is from IEA. If you look at the gross emission from, on the Earth, we have the Paris Agreement. We want to really hit the net zero emission by tackling down all these highly polluted industry, by removing all these carbon dioxide, or even the methane, carbon dioxide, or even the nitrous oxide. So all these can be done by finding a replacement of the energy. So, and all these actually carrying out, by few sectors, which I will talk about it later. So if you look at the energy transition, as a whole, this is a report and a chart I taken down from McKinsey. If you look at the overall share of emission per energy and land use system, this is the data from 2019. We can see the industry or the sectors that contribute the most on the carbon dioxide will be always the power sectors, will be the industry sectors, and also the mobility, which means our transports. So you can see power, which means because all the generators, electricity generators in the world are mostly carrying out by coal plant. So all these actually contribute a lot of carbon dioxide into our earth. And also industry, very heavy industry, such as steel industry, cement industry, oil and gas extraction industry, chemical industry. All these contribute another 30% of the carbon dioxide into our earth. And also mobility, especially on our cars. That's the reason why we see a transition from a ICE car into an EV car. All this is because we want to tackle down the carbon dioxide, and also we want to hit the global targets of net zero emission going forward. And of course, building, agriculture, and also forestry play another role of this carbon dioxide as well. And then if you look at the downside here, the methane, I think a lot of people actually forget our agriculture actually contribute a lot of the all this methane, which is a harmful gas that cause greenhouse effects. So all this methane actually can be replaced by another renewable energy, which is hydrogen. So you can see that a lot of the all these so-called harmful gases that will go into the greenhouse effect, we are actually finding a lot of good substitute to actually tackle down these things in order to achieve net zero emission going forward. And if you look at the data, the global primary energy consumption by sources, we used to be using a lot of woods and water to generate electricity until 18th centuries, when the industrial revolution coming out. There is a steam engine that invented by a European. So because of steam engine, we go into a more fossil fuel kind of energy generator. So materials like coal and oil and gas is the major sources for us to use to consume in order for us to push the overall consumption of energy. So you can see from this data, before 1900, most of the primary sources of energy are contributed by woods. After that, you can see coal is starting to picking up. And then after that, because of the invention of car from Ford, oil is starting to picking up. And also because of the industrial revolution, more and more industrial parks and also all the factories that have been building out are using more different kind of energy resources that contribute to the carbon dioxide, right? And you can see recently until 2015, because of the Paris Agreement, we can see a significant kind of growth on the nuclear energy, wind energy, hydro energy, and also solar energy going forward because of the agreement that fixed by the Paris Agreement that signed by all the countries, right? And then going forward, to tackle down the climate change and to achieve a sustainable future, most of the country are looking at changing their energy policy in order to using more non-fossil fuel kind of energy resources to combat with this climate change. And you can see this chart from IEA. Before 2015, we can see actually a lot of country and companies are spending a lot of money investment in fossil fuel. Until 2015, we can see there is a so-called inflection point that we are seeing more and more companies are pushing in clean energy investment instead of the fossil fuel investment, especially because of the COVID lockdown in 2020. A lot of oil rig actually get locked down, and actually they get closed down, shut down. So all these things actually prompted a lot of companies shift their focus. Instead of putting their investment into a new oil rig, new oil platform, they actually go into investments such as clean energy like solar power or wind energy. So all these things actually pointed a more healthy way for us to see that we are combating down all these greenhouse effects. And you can see for every US dollar spent on fossil fuel, we are seeing US dollar of 1.8 is now being spent on a clean energy, which, if you look at this data, 5 years ago, the ratio was at 1:1. So definitely we are heading on the right direction. And all these things actually will carrying out a lot of investment opportunity in the future as well, right? So if you look at this chart from IEA as well, the global investment flow from 2015 to 2022 see a huge paradigm shift. So we can see, during 2015, most of the investment are still going into resources like oil, natural gas, and the third one will be a low emission power. It could be wind, it could be solar, it could be nuclear energy, and also energy efficiency, electricity grids, and battery storage and coal for sure. But you can see up to 2022, the low emission power investment now outpace oil as the major investment. And you can see the overall investment from oil actually dropped quite drastically from 679 billion to 493 billion. And based on the statistic shown by IEA, the investment from oil and gas is still showing a downtrend kind of trending segment. So with all these things, we actually need to put our focus into all those clean energy related investment companies that can benefit big time, because we can see the government policy and the overall paradigm shift that gearing towards to all the clean energy companies will definitely create a profit growth or even the revenue growth for all these companies in futures, right? And you can see, from this chart, for wind, also we can also start to see, wind energy being a major role that contribute to our green energy resources. So we can see the capex, the global capex by energy sources. Of course, the solar PV is still the most viable one, because the solar PV is the most easier and most accessible resources for us, and also because of the supply from China as well on the solar panel all over the world. We can see the PV, the solar PV cost investment keep on dropping, and more companies are willing to adopt the solar investment, because the ROI also been shortened, by the pushing of both government side and both the demand supply structure side. So the government side is there because for those company who use who manage to hit the ESG compliance, or who willing to install solar capacity, they might get a green tax allowance. Or the demand supply and the demand supply structure side, we can see a lot of companies in China like Longi and Jinko Solar, more and more companies are building up a lot of plants to supply the solar panel to all around the world. And this causing the solar panel price drop all the way into a very cheap cost, which can help to improve the ROI for installing all this solar energy into their industrial, being in their industrial park or being in their residential rooftop, right? So all these things actually contributed to the big investment going into not only solar energy and also wind. And also we can see that not only onshore wind and also offshore wind being getting more and more traction, especially in country in Latin American, because in Asia Pacific, the wind is actually quite big. So a lot of investment being carried out there on the offshore wind. And we are seeing this kind of trend, this kind of momentum still very strong until 2030, right? And you can see this is a rank on the right-hand side of the chart. This is a rank of the EU countries on their clean electricity shares. So Sweden been a champion of clean energy because you can see most of their energy are carrying out by hydro as well as the nuclear energy and also the offshore wind for sure. And then Finland also been trying to pushing all their energy resources into the renewable energy segment. So you can see Europe, most of the country, half of the country, I think most of them been trying to achieve at least 30 to 50% of the energy resources coming from renewable energy. So we are seeing more and more country catching up in order to push for the net zero emission plan going forward, right? And you can see, all around the world, I think solar, like what I mentioned just now, solar is the most viable and most accessible energy resources that we can actually implement and install in the places. So you can see during 2012, the solar energy contribution is just only 14%. But by 2021, we are seeing around the globe, there is a 48% of the energy are actually contributed by solar energy. And we can see wind energy and also hydro energy been picking up, even though hydro energy see a drop of 20% to 15%. But if you look at total investment amount and total electricity generated as a whole, actually hydro energy been growing, and we can see all the fossil fuel energy, like for example coal, gas, and oil, they are contributing less and less investment and also less and less energy to the market, right? So I think, if you compare globally, China is one of the most aggressive country because they have a very strong and very, very big push by the government policy in terms of the renewable energy investment. So you can see China since 2006, this is the chart of showing the share of global installed capacity on the renewable energy. And you can see China been contributing from 2006 of 15% to 2021 until 30% already, right? And we are seeing a lot of other countries are gaining more traction. So you can see this is the top 10 market for solar capacity. China being ranked by number 1 with 331 gigawatt, and US ranking at number 2 at 115 gigawatt. And then the rest is most of the developed country being ranking at quite a top rank. And Malaysia have a total capacity of 1 gigawatt for based on the data of 2020. But now I think it's more than 1 gigawatt already. But for sure, if we want to hit the target, by our government, which is 36 gigawatt by 2050, there is huge room for us to grow in terms of the solar capacity gain going forward. So most of the companies in Malaysia, all the EPCC players, will continue to reap more and more benefits, because of all these government policy push in terms of the solar energy, right? And if you look at globally, the diversification of the energy supply mix of and you can see more and more companies and more countries been reduced dependency on the imported fuels, because you can see most of the most of the countries, and like for example Singapore, they actually imported more than 90 to 95% of their energy from natural gas, right? And all this natural gas come in LNG form or from the pipeline, which cost them quite a big chunk of energy amount, cost amount to sustain their energy cost. And globally, all the countries been pushing to electrify everything, including EVs and all the building. They are trying to push even the heaters itself, the water heater itself. They want to push by using solar energy to heat up the heaters, right? And you can see all the countries, they've been setting up their own targets. Like this is the data from IEA, and we can see that US side, by 2030, they want to increase their overall electricity generated from RE to 45% from 22% today. And like for European Union, they want to achieve 65% by 2030. And also for Middle East, even though they are big oil and gas country, but they are trying to increase their water desalination by doubles by 2030. Also, one of the way for them to carry out their renewable energy goals. And also India, even India is still a developing country, but they are still combating with the greenhouse effect by installing more solar energies, and they are going to increase their electricity generation from RE from 6% to 18% by 2030 as well. And China, they have a bigger plan. For sure, they already ran #1 in terms of the solar installed capacity, but they have a bigger ambitions, which they want to sell at least, they want to have 100 million electric cars on the road by 2030. And if you look at the data, carried out by China, so far the sales traction for EV cars in China are still very strong. And if you look at Latin America and the Caribbean, they want to achieve 55% of the RE contribution energy by 2030. And then African, of course, is considered quite a low investment country, but they've been trying to use quite an optimum energy, in order to combat with the greenhouse effect. And the way they want to develop the countries, they're also trying to push for RE instead of using all the fossil fuel resources in order to make the earth better. And then for Southeast Asia, 45% of the 2 or 3 wheeler are sold in electricity by 2030. That's the aim. And we can see a lot of countries like Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. We've been pushing a lot of EV policy. Like for example, Malaysia, we give tax exemption on EV cars. If we are buying a BMW i7, it's so cheap because if to get that kind of quality at 1 million something, you can get even better cars, you see. So that's the reason why a lot of very luxury EV that sell in Malaysia actually see a lot of sales, because the tax exemption is just way too good for them to purchase an EV luxury car. And for Japan and Korea, they want to build a lot of new offshore wind by 2030 lah. So, and you can see they want to build at least 18 gigawatt of offshore wind, which is quite a big chunk of the general resources to generate the RE growth lah, right? So this is a data to show you guys that the share of electricity in total final consumption will be increased from 20% today to 41% by 2050. And electrification is one of the key contributors to reduce all these fossil fuel demand. And you can see the share of electricity in industry, this is just to show that the overall trend and the overall prediction by the IEA, most of the electrification that go into industry, go into building, and go into transport will be realized after 2030 and even 2050. And by 2050, we will see more than 50% of the fossil fuel generated resources been coming down in less than 15%. So I think this is something that will continue to enhance and continue to improve these goals that carrying out by all the countries, right? So this is actually data from the IRENA, also one of the very, very resourceful Energy Research Institute, right? So you can see during 2020, still we have more than 63% of these primary resources coming from fossil fuels, and 22% are from electricity, 6% from biomass, the traditional biomass, and 5% from the modern biomass. But by 2050, like what I mentioned just now, more than 50% of the electricity will come from all the RE primary resources energy, like for example, solar or wind. And then the biomass and also the hydrogen, like I mentioned just now, will contribute most of the major primary resources that contribute to our electricity generator, right? And then this is data that carried out by IEA. You can see that most of the by 2050 most of the transport, like for example cars, truck, trains, ships, aircraft, and also most of the industry players, like for example players from chemicals, iron and steel, cement, or other industry, and also on the residential and the service industry sectors, will actually get all of their energy resources from the RE side. Like for example, hydro, solar PV, wind, and nuclear. And for sure, solar PV, wind, and hydro will contribute the most of the investment going forwards, right? So this actually end to my first part of the topic, to set the topic that to generalize the reason why Malaysia also taking part into this NETR initiative, because this is part and parcel for us to also achieve the Paris Agreement that signed in 2015. And another thing is that Malaysia being at a very strategic location, and also we have quite a resourceful natural resources, and also we have quite a strategy. We are locating not only at the strategic places that we can export our energy, we also located at quite a strategic places that we can get the highest efficiency from the solar panel energy, right? So with this, Malaysia actually carry out this NETR by our YB Rafizi and also YB Nick Nasby, and you can see they've been trying to line out a lot of framework, and they've been laying out a lot of investment that can push all these big things to penetrate into our society and even to our companies, and indirectly create tons of investment and tons of job opportunities to the market, right? So if you look at the Malaysia energy sectors, and you can see the largest contributor of our GHG emission are mostly from the industry and also transport. So the energy and transport, the energy including both the electricity generator from coal plant, and also from the industrial side, from the industrial process, and also from the transport. I think from both energy and transport, you can see it already contribute more than 80%. Even though we have quite a big piece of land use, on the forest part to actually reduce down our carbon emission, but still, we are producing more than 116 metric tons of carbon dioxide into the earth, right? And if you look at the Malaysia energy generating resources, actually Malaysia still very relying on coal plant. 40% of the, if you look at this data from Macquarie Research, 40% of the these primary energy resources are actually coming from coal. And then another 47% is actually come from gas. And you were wondering why, if we look at this chart, the natural gas actually just contribute 39.3%. That's the reason, because we actually import quite a lot of natural gas from the other parts of the country as well. And also, even though we are next exporter of gas, but for certain part of the Peninsular Malaysia, we actually import some of the gas, right? And then for information, 80% of our coal actually imported from Indonesia as well. So we are quite heavily reliant on all these so-called fossil fuel primary energy resources compared to the other countries. But if you look at countries from Indonesia, like Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and Philippines, for them they also quite heavily rely on either gas or coal. So in future, if all these things need to be reward, I think solar energy will be quite a big investment for them to really go into a big opportunity that can benefit the EPCC players in Malaysia, that which we can actually contribute most of this energy and export to all the neighborhood countries, right? So, like what I mentioned just now, under NETR, government actually committed to unlock this economic opportunity through a low carbon transition. So the target of this NETR is to see a 70% of renewable energy installed capacity share by 2050, sorry. And the target number 2 will be there's no new coal power plant carrying out investment in Malaysia and generating electricity for Malaysia, right? And you can see most of the investment will go into solar because, like what I mentioned just now, Malaysia being a country that can capture most of the solar energy, well placed and well positioned to capture the solar growth going forward. And you can see, in order for Malaysia to achieve the 70% RE, most of the energy contribution will come from solar energy going forward, right? And if you look at the Naga, TMB Energy Transition Plan, they also outline that, they will actually take the NETR as into a big consideration, that they will invest in even more capex into RE energy, like for example all the green tech smart grid initiative, and also all the solar energy and also hydro energy in Sabah Sarawak, right? All these things actually point towards the responsible approach towards the energy transition, right? And Tenaga been doing a lot of research also in hydrogen and also carbon capture in order to deliver the key level of decarbonization going forward, right? So this is the NETR 6 energy transition levels. So I think the focus are really much skewing towards these 6 levels. So the first one will be the energy efficiency. So from 2025 to 2030, the investment of that can carrying out by Tenaga will be around 35 billion, which is very big. Consider that, during 2020 to 2025 or even 2015 to 2020, the investment level that carrying out by Tenaga is very small. I remember Tenaga 1 year capex is around 900 million, like, but because of the 35 billion, if you divide it by 5 years, it's around 7 billion. So if you look at 900 million jump to 7 billion, the capex investment and the potential investment opportunities that go into the market is actually quite huge. So if you look at the energy efficiency per se, like for example, to install more smart devices, like the Internet of Things monitoring system into the substation, or by retrofitting the government buildings, that can save a lot of energy, by carrying out this energy efficient framework. And then if you look at the renewable energy, by 2030, they want to install 7 gigawatts, which we already have 31% of the renewable energy installed capacity now in Malaysia. That's why we have this CGPP, the corporate guarantee green power, that carried out by our ministers to even replace our LSS to carry out more mega solar farm in Malaysia. And also, we also want to establish a hydrogen hub in Sarawak going forward. And also the bioenergy fuels, like for example, the bioenergy fuel that actually extracted from the palm oil. Green mobility, in terms of green mobility, is the effort by the government by giving a lot of tax exemption to allow more and more EV cars on the road. And also the CCUS, which is the carbon captures that we are seeing Petronas and Tenaga working with a lot of partners, carrying out a carbon capture storage kind of initiative to capture all the carbon dioxide, that carrying out by all the industrial activities. Especially there's a company called MHB, Marine Heavy Energy Berhad. They've been trying to do carbon capture storage box, by partnering with some of the foreign companies, right? And by 2040, you can see the investment actually double or triple to even a higher level. So that's the reason why, if you look at NETR as a whole, the investments actually grow even further after 2030. You see, by 2040, the investment actually double or triple. there will be 6 billion invested in the smart device installation, 7 billion into retrofitting the government buildings. The solar PV will actually go from 7 gigawatt to 27 gigawatt, which is around 4 times of what they can build in 2030. And then they will build even more hydrogen hub and also more biofuel production being used and installed, and also more EV cars on the road. So all this actually points towards one thing. Companies that involve in clean energy, green energy, will definitely benefit from this big plan going forward. And if you can see from here, NETR is anticipated that Malaysia will require an investment of 1.2 to 1.3 trillion of capex by 2050. And you can see from 2023 to 2029, actually we are seeing quite a small amount of the capex going into clean energy. It's just around 210 to 240 billion in 2023 to 2029. But going forward, start from 2030 onwards, we are seeing the investment actually increase by a huge sum of amount to 460 to 480 billion. And by 2040 to 2050, the investment level continue to go up to 560 to 580 billion. So all these actually will create tons of job opportunities and also investment opportunities to the market going forward, right? And we can see by categories, most of the investment will go into the transport side will be the EV, right? And also RE power generation will be all the solar or wind generators, right? And also RE grid network, because all these new power generation plant will need more grids to power up, right? So the grid investment also actually multifold from 20 billion to 170 billion, and also hydrogen, big investment from 20 billion to 200 billion, and also carbon capture storage also from 25 billion to 160 billion going forward. So all these actually are the key theme that we should look into it, right? So we can see this is the initiative and the driver and the targets that's set by our government in terms of the energy efficiency, the industrial and the commercial energy efficiency saving. They want to achieve the low carbon nation by 11% in 2040, and with NETR they hope to achieve it by 23% in 2050. And all these go down skew towards with the residential energy efficiency saving from 10% to 20%, and the coal share of installed capacity will reduce from 90% to 0%, and the RE share of installed capacity will go out even further from 41% to 70%, and the clear outline of the hydrogen use, the green hydrogen production in Sarawak that can replace methane, like for example, all the herbicide will not using methane to produce, we're using hydrogen energy to produce. These will actually start to kick off, and they want to produce up to 2.5 million TPA going forward. And for bioenergy, they want to use more biofuel capacity and also bioenergy power generation going forward, right? And then we can see this is on the green mobility. In terms of the urban public transport, like for example, Prasanara will use more electric EV buses. Going forward, they want to achieve a 60% level by 2050. And then the four-wheel fleet, which means the normal transport of normal car, they are expecting by 2050 we can hit 80% of our cars on road are EV. And then also for sure the two-wheel share, the two-wheel, like for example the motorbike fleets will also achieve 80%, and so on and so forth, right? And also the last one will be the carbon capture. They expect to at least build 3 to 6 clusters for the carbon capture storage, and also for the carbon dioxide storage capacity, they want to achieve at least 40 to 80 million tons per annum, right? And if you look at individual project, individual levels or individual flagship, we can see actually a quite obvious companies or quite obvious sectors or even the department that can benefit from this. So for sure, the NRCC will carrying out the energy efficiency awareness to line out with the government building by retrofitting it, or to push CIDB or even JKR, by pushing them to approve more and more green buildings, and also by giving out more and more green buildings allowance to make sure that the energy efficiency awareness go into the market. And by improve the existing minimum energy performance standards also, another way to promote the awareness to more and more companies and more people to have awareness on all these initiatives and establish green building codes, to all the commercial building, all the office towers, and also some of the energy intensive residential will be helping a lot of the initiative to pushing this energy efficiency, and also by retrofit all the government buildings like I mentioned just now. And all the rears, if we can use a lot of rears that do not using all the primary sources, all the fossil fuel, also can be one of the way for us to achieve energy efficiency going forward, right? And then in terms of the renewable energy, this is where a lot of company actually start to see get the benefit when the NETR announcement announced. So I think the biggest beneficiary will be Kazana, which is going to work in the one company called UEM Sunrise, because that particular land being selected to build a large scale integrated sustainable development, spanning the entire supply chain to build this zone to be a special IE zone by doing it to become a zero carbon city. So this special zone will carrying out a lot of investment. Now, by approving all this investment, it will see a huge penetration of the solar panel, solar power generation from that IE zone, right? And also the centralized LCS part that co-developed with DNB and even the CGPP, that the green corporate guarantee by governments will indirectly benefit Tenaga as well. And then the hybrid hydro floating solar that we are seeing a lot of investment carrying out on the hydro floating solar side, also benefiting Tenaga as well, because this will actually help Tenagas to make sure they can reach the target of this become a clean energy producer, by 2050 also, right? And then residential solar, government also pushing some of the companies, some of the developers, some of the property developers, by installing the solar panel directly on the houses they want to sell in order to achieve this renewable energy target going forward, right? So like what I mentioned just now, if you look at Malaysia as a whole, we are quite potential, as per my IER, the carrying out the research and also carrying out the this statistic that Malaysia actually can install up to 269 gigawatt solar PV in both Peninsula and both Sabah Sarawak. And also we can carrying out more large hydro power plant in Peninsula. Although compared to solar, it's quite a small one, but still is quite significant because it's more than 10 gigawatt still, right? And then of course also with all the small bioenergy and small hydro plant and also the geothermal to contribute to our RE capacity, right, going forward. And if you look at the big pie chart will be solar for sure. So this is actually where I mentioned just now, the solar EPC players can benefit from this big time, right? And if you look at the types of installation of solar PV, Malaysia actually we have plenty of lands continue to install more and more solar panel, solar power plant in the region, especially in land land in Johor or land in on the East Coast part, because it's considered less developed in terms of RE capacity over these few places, especially in Johor. If Johor, they can utilize their land to do more solar power plant, and they can link out the grids and the cable all the way to Singapore by exporting all this energy, and we can see government, our energy commission been doing a lot of new framework by removing the one single buyer, and also by doing the new initiative to carrying out on the the TWA, sorry, third party TPA, third party access on the grid. All these actually points towards the potential of the export energy markets going forward, right? And then when talk about renewable energy, so actually when talk about renewable energy storage actually play a very big role, because you see, this is a chart from GSO. So you can see, we know that solar power, the intermittent is that the sun does not shine for 24 hours per day, right? So it cannot always consistently produce the energy at all the hours. And we might not using electricity on the daytime because we don't open the light, and maybe the energy consumption on the daytime will not as big as during nighttime. So if you look at the data on the bottom side, the grid system operator, that one, you can see the normal time that we use the demand of the grid transmission level start to spike on 7 a.m. in the morning, but start to come down by around 3 to 4 p.m. Then after that, it will spike back out when everyone go back home after works or after schools around 6 something to 7, and all the way until 11 to 12 at night. So by installing each energy storage system beside the renewable energy power plant, like for example solar power plant, that can help them to store the unused energy during the week, during the daytime, can help to preserve more energy and release the energy by the nighttime. And this will actually benefit a lot of the under usage of the solar power plant going forward. So this is actually another key important investment that mentioned in the NETR, and also the energy secure. So Sabah Energy Initiative, the so-called LSS, and also the hydropower plant that haven't going into the certain states, like for example, particularly in Sabah or the East Coast area, they need to come up with a framework to coming out more and more renewable energy into the certain area, right? And by introducing all the smart grid initiative, like for example, they do the real-time monitoring for the substation to avoid energy wastage, and also by using Internet of Things to enhance the demand response. Like for example, if they know this area will be what is the time that they might see the high demand of the energy flow going to the area, because you need to remember that when the energy produced from the power plant through grid transfer the energy all over to the places, that will actually reduce the energy when they are in the midst of transmitting the energy, for sure. But if they can know which certain taman or certain places they need certain kind of electricity usage at what timing, at certain timing, they can actually make sure that they can point towards the electricity going to that directions, and to save more energy during the transmission. And for sure, the demand management, like for example, if they know there will be some areas, the very rich guy area, when they're staying on this taman, and then they are using a lot of energies. So during this timing, like for example, during 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., or those who open the air conditioning until morning, maybe they can shut during the low period of the people using the energy, they can charge lower. But like for example, during afternoon time, if they want to make sure that not much people actually using air conditioning or wasting all the energy, they can charge a premium, based on the demand of the energy usage. And of course, cybersecurity, because if we got ransomware, on the Tenaga side, this will actually cause a huge additional cost for our energy efficiency as well. And if they can increase the system flexibility, like for example, building fast response gas plant to cater for the on-demand energy, this will actually it will also benefit all these NETR plan as well, and also deploy more energy storage into the renewable energy plant, all the solar power plant, and all the hydropower plant, all the green hydrogen plant, which they can actually preserve the energy and release the energy when they are on the ground. They need to use the energy. So all these things can actually benefit and actually create tons of investment opportunity to the market. And also, with the renewable energy being a big play, and like what I mentioned, part one of my slide, you see, Singapore, they need to at least import 4 gigawatt of energy by 2035, if I'm not mistaken. And it's quite ridiculous, when they carry out the plan of they want to import this 4 gigawatt energy, there's more than 20 proposals submitting from Laos, from Thailand, from Indonesia, from Sarawak, but not from Peninsula. until the NETR come out. And also there is another ridiculous project come all the way from Australia. They want to build a grid under subsea, and then they want to transport the energy from Australia, Perth, all the way to Singapore, right? So Malaysia being in a very strategic location, which, our Johor site can actually produce, we can install a lot of the solar power plant and export the energy to Singapore. Actually, this can help us, to reduce a lot of our electricity costs going forward, because by selling the energy to Singapore, and Tenaga can make a big chunk of profit over there, which this can indirectly subsidize our local electricity costs, you see. So I think this is something that Malaysia will benefit. And with the, Indonesia changing their capital city from Jakarta to Nusantara, which is at the Borneo state, which is below Sarawak. This will actually, help also, because Sarawak have the capacity to build more hydropower plant, and we have the opportunity to export the energy from a hydropower plant to the Jakarta new capital city going forward, right? You can see, we can even, be intermediaries, by letting, because Laos using the Mekong River advantage, selling a lot of their hydropower energy into different countries. Because you can see now Laos are selling their energy into Thailand, to Myanmar, and they even have a big plan to sell to Singapore, because Singapore they have a better rate, right? Compared to Malaysia, they have better rate. So even they want to rent our grids, to really transfer their energy all the way from Laos to Singapore. It also, physically makes sense for them, because Singapore willing to pay premium for this low carbon electricity import. See, so, and you can see right until now, more than 80 to 90% of the Singapore energy are still heavily relying on the imported natural gas energy. So this will actually help Malaysia as a strategy. We stand at a strategic location, which if we can have the right set of government or right set of industry players approaching to Singapore and selling the right approach, I think we can benefit from here big time, right? And then on the hydrogen side, if you can see on the hydrogen side, Sarawak want to build Sarawak Hydrogen Hub in Bintulu, and they want to build a first plant in Kuching first, then another 2 plant in Bintulu, and they are actually partnering with the SEDC Energy to collect and finding some strategic partners to build out this green hydrogen hub. So this is actually to replace the methane plant. So they can replace this methane plant with the hydrogen hub, hydrogen energy plant, by producing a more eco-friendly or renewable friendly energy that can replace methane, right? And also by co-firing the hydrogen and ammonia, by working with Petronas to decarbonize the TMB generation plants, right? Will also benefit the energy transition levels. So if you look at the hydrogen, right? Hydrogen is actually one of the very good and very viable investment, which is the reason why when Toyota pushing hydrogen cars, and no one actually give attention to them. And actually, if you look at hydrogen, in terms of the of course, in terms of the cost, in terms of the investment, if all the industry players willing to pay a premium and willing to give attention to the hydrogen energy and hydrogen investment, actually hydrogen might be a mainstream kind of power resources compared to EV car. But because of the capital markets been pushing EV, because of Tesla and because of a lot of other EV companies in China that have been building out, all this actually push a big paradigm shift of the clean energy using from hydrogen to EV, to electric vehicles. So that's the reason why even until the end, Toyota also have no choice but to follow the mainstream of the market wave by pushing out new EV cars in the market, right? So just for information, actually hydrogen being quite a good and clean energy can actually power up quite a lot of stuff. They can not only power up the transportation, they can power up the industry, and also the most importantly the industry feedstock. And all these things can actually power up the buildings and the residential area. And also with the methanation, like what I mentioned just now, all this methanation that can be replaced by hydrogen will actually help to reduce the bad this emission which is methane into our earth by replacing hydrogen to carrying out the ammonia process, and also to carrying out this ammonia process to produce the herbicide, pesticide, or even the fertilizer, to replace methanation, right? And also bioenergy for sure, because Malaysia as one of the big producing country of palm oil, we are using a lot of empty fruit branch, and also using a lot of the palm kernel, and also using a lot of the wood pellet from all these palm oil tree to to become one of the resources to fire out our biomass energy. So all this biomass development also been classified as one of the key development in Malaysia, and Malaysia been coming out with development of biomass cluster going forward, right? So all this will actually benefit some of the palm oil players going forward. And also on the green mobility side, like what I mentioned just now, our government been pushing out a lot of the incentive, and also been trying to laying out a lot of different channel kind of strategic allocation into to make sure that we Malaysian can adopt EV cars into on our roads, right? Like for example, they've been earmarking to install more than 10,000 EV charging stations by 2025 with partners like TMB, Plus Highway, PMB, Gentari, and also Sunway Group. They're also working with mostly on the mobile hydrogen refueling station. This is mostly going to the aviation, or also maybe the hydrogen buses going forward. And also the public transport electrification, like for example, the MRT, the LRT, to make sure that the electrification of all these railway project can be done in an efficient way. And also in terms of the, putting solar panel on the MRT or LRT station to generate the electricity for the station itself to self-sustain, right? And also for sure the biofuel hubs. And the last one will be the carbon capture. So carbon capture, if you look at the companies in Malaysia, there's just only one company so far benefited from the carbon capture project, which is MMHE. So all these, by developing with the carbon capture storage hubs, which they want to place 2 in Peninsular Malaysia and 1 in Sarawak, these can actually help to spill over the investment. Like for example, the implementation of the Kasawari project, that they are collaborating with Sarawak governments. This will actually help them to push the CCS, carbon capture storage, into the fields, to capture all the carbon dioxide energy, right? So after all, I think the most important point will be the case studies of the NETR. So which company will benefit from NETR the most? So definitely, I think this is actually a chart. The sources carrying out by CGS CIB Research. Solar APCC will be one of the big beneficiary from this NETR, because we can see most of the initiative that carried out by our government is to push more and more solar power plants into the state. And companies like SolarWest, companies like Peka Group, companies like Samaiden, or companies like Sunview, the EPCC listed players, or some of the oil and gas players who just turn into an EPCC players, like for example, USMA, will definitely benefit as an EPCC contractor, to install all the solar power plant, especially recently, because of the overbuilt capacity on the solar panel, and the solar panel price actually not skyrocketing. It's the price actually deep until very deep until very low level, into a very cheap level. This will actually help them to even have a more incentive for them to carrying out the project for the owners, right? Because ROI will be even more make sense for the owners to carrying out this solar power plant project investment, right? And then asset owners for sure, like people like YTL Power, Malakoff, Gas Malaysia, Megafirst Corporation Berhad, Saipak, and Cita Global will benefit from being as asset owner. Like for example, YTL Power, with YTL have the they secure the project to build a data center in Johor, and all these data center will need a lot of the energies which they can actually build the solar energy beside their data centers and powering out their data centers by using all these renewable energy will definitely benefit asset owners like YTR and YTR Power. And also, for example, MegaFirst, being after they invested in the Don Sanho hydropower plant and expecting they can be in a positive cash balance in their books by next year, they can carrying out more and more solar power plant investment. Like for example, they've been a bidder winner for Tanjung Maling plant for Proton City solar power in the solar power company asset owner lah, right? So with the new AHTV, the new investment carrying out by Geely, total of 30 billion investment to build more and more plants in Tanjung Malim on the EV as a EV hubs. This will actually benefit companies like MegaFirst who always working with the industrial players by renting their place, renting their rooftop, and then sell back the energy to them, right? And then for sure, people like Saipark, who own the waste to energy, and also who own the LSS plant as an asset owner, they will benefit from this big time. And then in terms of grid, so for grid, there will be power cable needed. So when the power cable needed, company like Southern Cable and another one is going to list soon called MasterTech will benefit from this. And then people who build the substation like Pestec, MN Holdings, and also ITA will also benefit. And then SMRT Holding, who do the Internet of Things monitoring system for the substation, will also benefit. But the ultimate winner for the grid will be Tenaga, because Tenaga is the only and the one in Peninsular Malaysia that can sell the electricity, right? So for sure, Tenaga will be the only player who own the grid, who is also the asset owner for the grid, will benefit that, right? And then for carbon capture storage, people like Petronas Gas and also MNHE will benefit from it. And also for battery storage, because of Chita Global setting up a JV with Genetec, and Genetec invented the energy storage system, which also can, if the government pushing localization, Genetec is one of the prime beneficiary from all these solar power plant or all the substation that need energy storage, battery energy storage station. Then that's where they can benefit, right? So if you look at solar PV EPCC in a whole, for sure, because Malaysia have few companies that are into this PV supply chain, the solar PV EPCC supply chain, and also the makers, the part makers for the solar panel as well. So companies like, if you look at the chart as a whole, for resource extraction, because in Malaysia, we don't have a lot of polysilicon. We don't extract polysilicon. So a lot of China companies benefit from resource extraction. For the raw material processing, also a lot of China companies will benefit. From the manufacturing of components, also a lot of companies in China, like for example, Jinko Solar, Longyi, these are the players that actually benefit from the manufacturing of components. But Malaysia do have some equipment players that supporting, automation player that supporting the manufacturing of components will benefit. So for example, people like TT Vision who do inspection inspection machine for their solar cell will benefit from there. People like Great Tech, they are one of the big beneficiary from this because they are the automation players for First Solar, and also for few companies that these are the two companies that I remember that benefit big time from the solar energy manufacturing components, right? And also for KGB, KGB, they're selling gases for some of the these solar manufacturing solar plant, panel solar plant. So they will also benefit from it as well, right? And then when it comes to assembly part, assembly on the this polysilicon and also assembly on the this solar panel, the companies that can benefit the most will be the packaging company because once you build the solar panel, you need to package it, right? So the packaging company like Masterpack and LMP Global. So Masterpack and LMP Global, both of them do the this wood pallet and also the box, the corrugated box that they can store the solar panel will benefit from this apparently. And then EPCC company, for those company who do the plant engineering and also construction of the solar power plant. So company like Sunview, Samaiden, Solar West, Saipat, Pekat Group, and Usba will benefit from it. And companies, there's another two companies that do the aluminium frame for, when you install the solar panel, you need a lot of aluminium frame to actually stand still or carrying all the solar panel ma. So there's two companies that actually do this aluminium frame, which is Kobe. Kobe just invested a new plant that they are doing this kind of aluminium frame that sell to First Solar, and also another one, PA Resources. So PA Resources also benefit from it because PA Resources also doing this aluminium frame to carrying the solar panel when they do the EPCC job, right? So that this one is on the RE side, the renewable energy side on the EPCC players. Then we go into the prime beneficiary. So actually, if you look at NETR as a whole, the only players that benefit the most is Tenaga Nasional for sure, because they are the only company who can sell electricity in Malaysia, right? And but for Sarawak, because Sarawak have their own entity, which is Sarawak Energy Berhad. And then for Sabah, even though Sabah also have their own Sabah Energy, Sabah Electricity Sdn Berhad, but this Sabah Electricity Sdn Berhad is actually 83% owned by TNB lah. So anyhow, Tenaga benefit from both Peninsular and also from the Sabah side in Malaysia. And also they have some international presence in UK, in Turkey, in Saudi Arabia, India, and Kuwait, right? So all these actually, with the energy transition plan and with the global energy transition plan, that we'll see a lot of huge capex investment and also huge paradigm shift of carrying out the energy resources from the fossil fuel to non-fossil fuel, will benefit players like Tenaga Nasional Berhad, right? And also, with the because our grid, our national grid network and retail business are governed by the incentive-based regulation. So for information, Tenaga Nasional actually they have quite a solid business model, because if because you can see just now, most of the Malaysia Energy are actually firing out by coal plant. But if the coal price actually increase, they can actually got the ICPT which is I forget the full name already, but they can transfer the cost to government, and government will subsidize them this cost So the past few years, because coal price shoot up and people have concern that government is not paying Tenaga on the ICPT, and we can see their trade receivable actually shoot to the sky high of 22 billion. But recently, after the Madani government, after Anwar go up and become our prime ministers, and after the initiative for NETR, and the attention of the Ministry of Resources into the renewable energy, we are seeing government paying off Tenaga, and reducing their trade receivable from all the way of 22 billion to 8 billion only. So we can see government being responsible on paying all the ICPT, the transmission cost, and that's where clear the doubt of Tenaga as a only operator in Malaysia, in Peninsular Malaysia, that can benefit the most going forward. And we look at the domestic generation capacity, right? You can see 46% of their power is actually generated by coal, 32% from gas, 70% from RE, and 5% from oil. So, and also they have some international presence in just now I mentioned, they have like around 5.1 gigawatt 5,116 megawatt of capacity outside of Malaysia right? So this is where Tenaga involved in the global presence. So you can see Tenaga actually have some investment in onshore wind and offshore wind. It's all the renewable energy all around the world. So all these things actually build out Tenaga portfolio as a company who actually look at ESG very seriously. So all these things can actually benefit Tenaga in the long term run, right? And with the NETR, it actually set out even a clearer pictures for Tenaga to invest in renewable energy. And because of the acceleration of speed from the government side on the NETR policy framework, we are seeing Tenaga putting even more capex to powering out renewable energy going forward. And you can see by growing their capacity and new green business, they actually, they will benefit from even more investment. And also because of the data center that built in Johor, if you look at Johor, there's not only YTL, there's a lot of new names and a lot of big companies are actually building up their data center over Johor. And Johor will need more and more energy, to power up the data center. And all this energy can be carrying out, because the data center are still building up. What can Tenaga do is that they can actually powering out all their energy sources by using solar power plant built beside the data centers to power up the whole data center, and this will actually help them to boost their RE capacity as well, right? And in terms of the exporting their energy, their renewable energy, especially, can see Singapore have the plan to at least import 4 gigawatt of renewable energy, which making up 30% of its energy mix by 2035, right? And Singapore electricity cost for RE is actually very high, much more higher compared to Malaysia. Plus the advantage of the foreign exchange difference, actually we can benefit by a huge sum of profit, by exporting the energy from Johor to Singapore. If we can manage to come up with the right framework and also the right execution by selling our energy to Singapore. And with the grid upgrade, and the usage, there is more transmission line needed because of new solar power plant and RE plant being built in different areas. This will also benefit, because when Tenaga do distribution of the electricity, that's where they can make their money as well. And with there's more new buyers on homes, all these, the distribution profit will actually go into Tenaga, will see a big increment, right? For their capex and also for their future outlook, right? And if you look at the RP, the regulated, so every time, every 5 years or every three to 5 years, the governments or even Tenaga will always come out with this regulated regulatory period on the energy consumption and energy directions. So with the RP4 being a RP4 going forward in 2025, the investment will be outpaced with what they are doing in the RP3, RP2, or RP1. So in short, the investment outlay will be much more higher than what they do compared to last time. And this will actually powering out not only Tenaga and also the EPCC players and also the other players who supplying them the cables, who helping them to do the substations going forward, right? So this is on the Tenaga side. So I think for Tenaga, right, going forward, what is their catalyst is going to be exporting their energies to Singapore. This is something that can boost their profit by a huge sum of amount. And by government opening up the third-party access, so for those who actually penetrate into Tenaga cables, they can actually charge them out. So this is another things that can make a huge sum of profit. And then with them, powering out their capex investment into RE, in line with the NETR framework, this will actually help them to boost up their valuation, because a lot of foreign funds and local funds are looking at ESG, as a whole. And the problem with Tenaga is always they have too little contribution of RE energy in their portfolio. So if the RE energy contribute more than 50% on their portfolio electricity generation, this will actually will help them to improve their valuation going forward, in terms of ESG scoring. So with revaluation of their PE and also with the potential capex that spent, this can actually benefit Tenaga in the long run. So if you look at Tenaga, the rating catalyst is actually quite obvious. And with the coal price start to stable down, and of course the MYR, I think the worst is over at 480. I think overall Tenaga is looking at a better outlook now going forward, right? Then we go to another interesting company, which we see the company share price actually skyrocketing by few 100% this year, which is SMRT Holding Berhad, because of the corporate exercise that being carried out by the companies. So SMRT used to be a company that hold two business, which is the education business and also the IoT business. But the IoT business, always under the radar because the losses from the education business always hiding the profit from the IoT business itself. So, this year we are seeing SMRT actually coming out with the corporate exercise by disposing their education business, the Cyberjaya Education Group, and buying up another 40% of stake of this IoT company called Osiris Technology Solution, become a pure play enterprise Internet of Things solution provider, in the region. So for information, SMRT or Osiris are the only company in Malaysia that are helping Tenaga Nasional doing Internet of Things monitoring system for their substation network. So their business is they install the IoT and then they do data collection and then they help Tenaga Nasional to monitor their substation to make sure there is no loss of electricity or there is no to make sure that the energy efficiencies the so-called smart grid initiative we're actually carrying out by installing more Internet of Things into the substation, right? So this is the example of Osiris actually helping some of the Tenaga Nasional substation to help them to monitor whether the substation are working at the optimum or even the operational efficiency actually over the operational facility is actually at a full functional or not, right? To avoid people go and steal electricity or there's electricity outflow or wastage at that substation. Okay, they also providing water solution for few companies in Malaysia, like for example Span or Water Selangor, to make sure that they can help them to monitor the wastage, to make sure that there is no wastage of waters leak, if there's a pipe leaking, all these can actually monitor through Internet of Things, right? So for SMRT, they are one of the major supplier for Tenaga, because they've been working with Tenaga since past few years, and based on the track record, the good things about the business is that once they install the IoT into the substation itself, the recurring income, because they will need to do a lot of monitoring and also the maintenance for the substation. All these things actually you need to pay a fee to maintain and to retain to continue to use the system because you need to do the monitoring system. So all this, once you install an IoT system, and if you want to read the data, if you want to monitor the things, that will be carrying out by SMRT and Osiris subsidiary, and this will actually charge, and this is actually something that is recurring. And if there is more substation installed the IoT, which means there's more substation need to pay annual basis kind of fee to SMRT. So that's where SMRT benefit. And you can see SMRT, they also not only targeting utility sectors, they also targeting water segment and also some of the non-utility sectors that are doing retailing business, like for example, Aeon, like Petron, George Ken, who do the water meter, smart water metering system last time, and some of the retail store. And for information, SMRT not only serving Malaysia for the utility sectors, he also serving the Indonesia state-owned, also one of the only companies that can sell electricity in Indonesia, which is PLN. They also serve PLN on this IoT monitoring system, right? So what they do is that with the smart grid, require digitalization of substation connectivities. All these smart grid will need to use digital, or even advanced technologies to monitor and precisely match a real-time supply and demand of the electricities. All these actually require seamless communication between various grid assets, and it requires interconnection of transmitting substation and distribution step substation to facilitate this kind of communication. So with this, actually, SMRT will need to even install more IoT devices into each substation, not only the transmission substation and also the distribution substation. And by installing all these automation system, they can actually enhance their distribution network to make sure that their distribution network actually flow the enough amount of energy into the transmission substation, right? And this will bode very well for SMRT because they are the sole solution provider for this telecommunication infrastructure for DMB, distribution substation. So that's where SMRT can benefit big time, right? And if we look at the substation in Peninsular Malaysia, there's more than 86,000 substation distribution substation in Peninsular Malaysia. And up until today, if I remember correctly, SMRT already installed around 20,000 sites into the Naga substation. So there's huge potential for them to penetrate because there's more than 86,000 of substation. And if you look at NETR initiative, there will be more investment need to go into smart grid initiative, and this will actually benefit SMRT in the long term, in the long run, right? There's untapped area of more than 70,000 stations I added Sarawak and Sabah, right? And then you can see, so the revenue model for this kind of IoT monitoring system will based on one-off project implementation, which means they install the IoT, and also the managed service, which means every 3 to 5 years, there will be a contract which they help Tenaga to actually monitor the IoT system, right? And we can see there's a reason why SMRT revenue from Malaysia actually grow quite quite stable in the past few years. And I can see most of the income actually come from recurring income, right? So for now, SMRT, their revenue contribution are still 90% from Malaysia, but you can see that Indonesia start to pick up because of the utility sectors from the PLN and also from the finance sectors, which is another company called ATMI. So they help the ATM station in Indonesia to make sure that once the ATM station on that particular area, if they need to recycle the cash into the ATM, then the IoT will actually alarming the providers of the cash that they can deposit all the money into ATM so that the people around there can use the ATM station, right? So that's where they penetrate, and this is where SMRT can manage to benefit from the recurring kind of project basis. So going forward, SMRT have quite a huge story and quite a huge growth going forward, because Malaysia has still have more than 60 to 70,000 of untapped substation for them to install the IoT system. And also all these systems, once they install, they can get the renewal contract, and they can help them to monitor and get a recurring income from there, right? And also, if they manage to prove to PLN in Indonesia that they can do a very good monitoring system on their substation, if they manage to become a sole bidder always for the for the smart grid initiative from Indonesia, Indonesia have more than 540,000 substations, and they are mostly work in manual basis. So there's huge room for them to do automation data and automation system for all these substations going forward, right? And if you look at the SMRT historical revenue and profit, the company been growing very well, and you can see the margins is actually growing quite significantly, because once they implement a project and once they got the renewal contract for the smart monitoring system, the margin from the recurring revenue, the recurring monitoring is quite big, is quite good. So going forward, we expect SMRT will continue to benefit from these big teams, especially on the smart grid initiative investment, right? Another company that I think is quite interesting and I think will benefit big time is actually NETR, because they are one of the proxy and the only proxy in Malaysia that can build this BESS, which is the battery energy storage system. So actually this company, they are automation equipment company. They're based in Selangor. They design and customize factory automation solution for different kind of customers. They used to serve HDD customers, and then they serve world largest EV car makers, and they continue to do well, bots well, and they continue to get more contracts and from these world largest EV customers. So they are not only benefit from the EV side, because e-mobility is one of the initiative in Malaysia, and I believe these world largest EV car makers will continue to invest in their own things, because if you look at recently, if you look at the news, that a lot of people actually worried that these world largest EV companies, their car selling speed actually slow down already. But actually, if you look at what they are doing, they are actually trying to optimize their costs. So last time they outsource a lot of stuff, right? But now they are trying to do a lot of things in-house, especially on their battery. So if they are in-housing their battery, and they will buy more and more automation parts from people like NETR, that's where Genetec can benefit from this big time. But I think the most important thing is that we are talking about the NETR initiative today. So Genetec also the only company in Malaysia managed to build this battery energy storage system in Malaysia. So they actually partnering out, create they actually JV with Cita Global, another listed company in Malaysia with a special purpose vehicle. So they go into exclusive agreement to formalize this battery energy storage management system and to sell to potential customers, like for example all the solar power plant and all the RE generators, right? So they are the Malaysia first locally developed and produced battery energy storage system, and they already showcase their product by fully operation 1 megawatt BESS prototype during their launch of Genetec Epic plant. And also all their My BESS, this they call it Malaysia BESS battery energy storage system. It can actually use in transport manufacturing, energy supply, distribution, all the way to telecommunications, especially in grid integration to manage the intermittent of IE resources. So the idea is to replace all the genset with the energy storage system. And genset highly relying on the fossil fuel also is very costly and is unreliable and is not fulfilling the overall RE goals that set by NETR and also set by the Paris Agreement. So there's huge demand for this battery energy storage system going forward, right? And if you look at the the recent announcement that announced by both Genetec and Cita Global JV, so we can see that they are already in discussion with Petronas and also with Mazda, to scaling up their BESS technology solution, or even place their My BESS into some of all these players' facilities all around the world. So for information, if you look at the recent viral video by Nas Daily, Mazda is quite a big company in Abu Dhabi, and they develop a few big floating solar power plant in Indonesia or in some of the areas in the developing countries area. All these solar power plant have a big chance, they need to buy energy storage system, and that's where My BESS, the JV from Genetec Cita Global, can benefit from this. So, and if you look at the latest report that written by CGS CNB, you can see that they also pencil in that they are expecting that Genetec could generate a revenue of 65 to 70 million by FY24, which they were commercializing 40 to 45 megawatt worth of battery energy storage system into a small scale application. And with there's more and more rollout of significant large-scale projects, like such as the 2 gigawatt solar farm in Pahang by Abu Dhabi Future Energy Company, the Mazda and Cita Global. If they really build this 2 gigawatt solar farm, this will actually give a huge advantage for Genetec to sell the BESS and contribute to their top and bottom line going forwards. And you can see this CGS CMB, they are also forecasting that they can continue to grow their revenue from the battery energy storage system from 45 million all the way to 80 million and 120 million. The CAGR growth is quite significant going forward, right? So another company that will benefit from this, NETR will be the cable suppliers. So there's this company called Southern Cable Group, who mostly manufacture all the wide range of cable of wires. So they can do power cables and wires, being low voltage, medium voltage, or high voltage. And then they can do communication cables and wires, and also the control and instrumentation cables and wires. I think the most important stuff is that they are the big producer. They are one of the big producers for the power cables and wires in the region. So if you look at their order books, so in year to date, they actually they managed to clinch more than 500 million of orders, mostly from Tenaga Nasional. That's because all the smart grid initiative and also the grid investment that we mentioned just now, they need to buy more cables to power up all these solar power plant, and also in future, if they want to export the energy, they need all these power cables to ready and power out their substation going forward, right? So Southern Cable, as one of the major manufacturer for power cables, will definitely benefit going forward, because if there is more substation and more transmission line needed, more transmission power cables needed, Southern Cable as one of the big players will benefit from this lah. So if you look at this this chart, this is actually I take out from the independent IMR report lah, the independent market research report, because of this company called MasterTech Group Berhad Prospect. They actually want to go for listing. They actually have this draft prospectus on the Bursa website. So we can see that now Southern Cable is one of the biggest companies in terms of the power cable manufacturing, because you can see in terms of revenue, Southern Cable have the highest revenue of 875 million. And going forward, with their expansion capacity, expanded capacity, we think that they can continue to benefit, from the overall investment initiative from this transmission line, right? And for sure, afterward, if MasterTech Group, they got approval from Bursa Malaysia, to not for listing, I'm sure that MasterTech is another company will benefit from this big investment going forward, right? And then another few companies that might benefit from this NETR will be a company like Pestec, who got a lot of corporate exercise happening, because IJM is taking over Pestec, most of their share controlling stakeholding. And then recently, this company called MN Holding actually shot up. The share price shot up because of the potential job they got from data center, and also the potential of them, clinching a contract of doing EPCC substation from Tenaga. And also ITA proved their one of the subsidiaries, 60% owned subsidiary, which is Trans System, which also they're doing a lot of high voltage system for the substation. All these companies will benefit from the substation EPCC project going forward. So I think that's all from me. I'll pass back to Chun Xian for Q&A session.
All right, so we have overrun the session for a little bit, so let's stick the Q&A to maybe 2 questions. So if any question asked our speaker today, please write them at the Q&A box. All right. First question is, can you elaborate more on CGPP? How do solar players like Samaiden gain profit from this scheme?
So CGPP is actually a corporate guarantee power purchase. So what they do is that, instead of the government pushing out the big large scale solar mega project that directly deal with the Naga National, which means they sell the electricity direct to the Naga National. So what they do is that they come up with a CGPP plan. They allow the EPCC players, the companies who got the contract of CGPP to sell directly of their electricity to the corporate industry players. So this will actually, give a more flexibility for players that get the CGPP program. Example, if they are paying this, because you see this year, Tenaga actually increased the electricity cost for industry players, because there's a statistic mentioned by the minister that the top 10% of our electricity user are actually taking out the 50% of the this rebate or even the allowance from the government. So what they do is that they increase the industry electricity cost, and they come out with the CGPP package. Because once you increase the electricity cost from the Naga side, which means your solar power investment will be more viable already, right? And for the company who needed a lot of who needed a lot of renewable energy, they just can install a limited solar panel on their rooftop, right? But they still need more renewable energy. So they can actually directly buy from people like Samaiden who get the CGPP contract from the government, and they can sell directly their electricity to the corporate players with the agreement price that Samaiden set with the corporate players. So the margin will definitely higher than the previous LSS project, because the LSS project is a fixed cost that they sell the electricity to Tenaga directly. So that's the difference. So companies that got CGPP, definitely their margin, their renewable energy margin, once they completed the solar power plant, the margin will benefit. It will be slightly higher than LSS for sure.
Right. Thank you so much, Sean, for addressing the question. The next question is by Ang. Now, EPCC are definitely the known beneficiaries, but why the shares are not reflected?
I think if you look at EPCC's share price, right? I think it already reflected, to be honest. If you look at companies like Samaiden, actually the share price actually shoot more than 300%, you know. SolarWest also actually going up. I think the reason being why you can't see even a bigger move of the share price is because during pre-COVID time, a lot of their company share price actually priced in, you know, because their valuation being priced at quite a very premium level of 30 to 50 times kind of PE lah. So now, you know, with investor nowadays are more cautious, and with the investor sentiment are more dimmer, I think they are being more cautious when they invest in all these EPCC players. But definitely, if you look at what I presented just now, if you look at the long term, there's huge amount of opportunities for the governments or for the industry players continue to benefit, you know, going forward. So once, for those EPC company who have a very strong cash flow, who have a strong working capital, who can get more project, definitely they can continue to outgrow going forward. But one thing for sure, being an EPCC player, you are still a construction player lah. I mean, in general terms, if you can be an asset owner for the solar farm, there will be, you can get even a higher so-called valuation lah, for sure, because that's what investor like, you know, recurring income, right? So I hope I addressed the question.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Are there high barrier of entry to the Internet of Things business owned by SMRT? Do they have any competitors?
I think the barrier of entry for the IoT owned by SMRT is definitely quite high lah. But if you ask me whether the system are very changgay, like, you know, they are very interesting or very advanced, I don't think so. I think it's more on the first mover advantage, you know, because when they approach the Naga, I think they are the first one who managed to approach and implemented the project to Tenaga. I think the barrier certainly is there because they've been installed more than 20,000 stations already. So in terms of the data collection, they already have the data advantage over their peers. And who is the competitor for this? For now, I not really know who is their major competitors are. But in, you know, in Malaysia, so far the management decided that they are the only suppliers for the IoT monitoring system to Tenaga Nasional.
How about in Indonesia?
Indonesia, there's a lot of players, but the management also didn't reveal the name. But I think for sure, PLN, why they choose SMRT is because they have the experience, you know, because they managed to help Tenaga to carry out more than 20,000 substations. And with the data collection and with the experience that they gather over the years, I'm sure that they know, you know, what is the pain point that utilities players will always face. And that's where they have the first mover advantage when they go and approach all these new players lah, but new customers in the market lah.
All right. So Sean, you were saying that the barrier entry to this business for SMRT is neither too high nor too low, right? As they have
neither too high,
the
too
first
low.
mover advantage. Okay. Now let's do one last question from Jeff. You know, now we know that Genetech is the only BSS system owner here in Malaysia. And is it difficult to go into this business? Do they have any competitor?
I think for to venture into BSS business is not really the barrier entry lah, you know, because the
very high.
related to barrier entry is quite low, to be honest. It's quite low.
Quite low.
Quite low because if you look at globally, the suppliers of BSS is either, you know, like there's a company called Fluence under Siemens. Actually, there's a lot of companies that are providing, like some Sungrow and SunPower or Sungrow. Sorry, Sungrow from China. They are the largest players. Or even Huawei, they are building their own BESS, their battery energy storage system, and selling in the market. And if you look at all their technologies, actually battery energy storage system is you can't see any big differentiation in terms of technology. But I think it play a very big role in terms of the cost structures. So whoever can carrying out or who can actually benefit from the O&M contract is really on playing the finance contract already. Because, you know, for a company who get the BESS contract, they are not only benefiting from producing the BESS. I think the O&M, the operating and maintenance contract, is where the lucrative margin coming from, because all these batteries you need to maintain anyhow, right? And you need to make sure that they will continue to run and work. So I think that's where people need to be more focused looking at the O&M, the recurring contract going forward. So when it comes to all these O&M contract, so that's where the barrier of entry is considered quite high already, because you need to have certain connection when you want to go and clinch all the related contracts. Like for example, so what kind of station or what kind of plant need this kind of the energy storage system, being the solar power plant, being our train station, MRT, LRT station, being our data center plant, or being our government buildings, or being the mall operators, right? Or being a bank operators who need to make sure that their servers continue to run even there is a power outage. Okay, all these companies and all these government agency, they will need some companies who are very strong, who have a very good brand name, who have a very big financial war chest, continue to supply them the BESS and also to do the O&M contract for them. So my answer also will be the same. It's neither high or low, because it really depends on what kind of customers they are dealing with.
Okay, neither too high nor too low. Okay, but in Malaysia, they're the only one at the moment.
Yeah, they are the only supplier, but for sure, this China company called Sungrow, they are very aggressive in the market, very aggressive, and they are one of the big operator for these inverters. So they have consider a big range of products compared to Genetec. Genetec just do BESS, just do battery energy storage system. But this company Sungrow, they can do a wide range of product in solar energy, being inverters all the way to the coolers and also the energy storage system, right?
All right. Thank you so much, Sean, for sharing with us about this NETR initiative. I guess that most of us here have gotten enormous value learning from Sean about what is NETR and what are the companies that could benefit under this initiative. So, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from the Executive Director of Spiral Thinker Group, Mr. Sean Pang.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I think maybe my last word also, just to inform that don't forget that when EV cars come out, the only players that can benefit from EV charging station is the Naga National. This is something I forget to tell. This is big catalyst as well. The only players.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean, for your concluding remarks.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Bye.